Welcome back, everyone. Take a quick second and just look down at your shoes. You probably just slipped them on before leaving the house without a second thought, right? But what if I told you that the shoes we wear carry a deeply fascinating, literally thousands of years old story? Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hidden history of the high heel. We're going to see exactly where they came from, who actually wore them first, and how they quite literally changed the world, one step at a time. So, if I were to ask you right now who invented the high heel, who wore it first, what image pops into your head? Probably a modern fashion icon, right? Or maybe a glamorous Hollywood star on a red carpet. Well, get ready to have your assumptions totally flipped upside down. The original wearers of the high heel were absolutely not doing it for beauty, and they definitely weren't walking down any red carpets. We are covering a massive timeline today, over 3,000 years of history. We'll start in the intense heat of ancient Egypt around 3000 BCE, travel east to Persia around 1 CE, march our way right into the grand courts of 1500s Europe, and finally hit the modern era kicking off around the 1940s. It's a crazy journey of how a really simple solution traveled through time to become something completely different. Let's get right into it. Section 1, Blood and Battle, the Practical Origins. We need to completely strip away all that modern glamour to look at the purely functional and, frankly, super gritty reasons the raised shoe was even born. Picture this. More than 3,000 years ago, in the really busy, packed markets of ancient Egypt, you wouldn't see the elites wearing raised shoes. You'd actually see the butchers. The people preparing meat wore these raised soles just to keep their feet clean and dry. The ground in their workspaces was constantly wet, dirty, and covered in blood. A small heel just kept them above all that mess. So it was 100% about survival and practicality, solving a very simple, very messy problem. Now, let's fast forward and move east to ancient Persia, which is what we call Iran today, around the year 1 CE. Here, we run into a really crucial piece of military technology, the stirrup. Those are those little metal loops that hold a horse rider's feet. Persian soldiers were legendary, widely known as some of the absolute best horse riders in the entire world, and riding in battle meant they needed incredible stability, which brings us to their genius adaptation. When a Persian soldier had to literally stand up on his moving horse to shoot an arrow, his feet had to be rock solid. By wearing boots with a raised heel, that heel would lock perfectly right into the stirrup. Step 2, boom, the soldier gains immense stability. And step 3, because he's steady, he aims way better, gaining strength and control. Again, this was definitely not fashion. This was highly effective military tech that helped them totally dominate the battlefield. Moving right along to section 2, the kings of Europe walking above the rest. So as those Persian soldiers traveled, they met traders and ambassadors, and the idea of the heeled boot spread like wildfire. When Persian style hit Europe in the 1500s, people paid really close attention. Europeans viewed Persian culture as exotic, incredibly intelligent, and deeply powerful. And European nobles? They wanted to project that exact same power. Get this, because it's wild. Men, not women, were the first to wear heeled shoes in Europe. The heel completely transformed into this huge symbol of intense masculinity and immense wealth. A man in heels was someone who literally and symbolically walked above the mud and proved he didn't have to work in the fields. And nobody, nobody, embraced this quite like King Louis XIV of France. 4 inches. That's exactly how tall his heels were. King Louis was a relatively short guy, and he absolutely loved the height, the dominance, and just the sheer presence that a 4-inch heel gave him. He rocked them with incredible pride, which you can see in a ton of historical portraits. But King Louis took it a step further. He had the bottoms of his tall heels painted bright red, and he created a strict royal rule. Only nobles, literally only the absolute most VIP people in his inner circle in France, were legally allowed to wear red heels. So the high heel had officially become a language. It was this strict visual language communicating power, class, and royalty. If you saw that red heel, you instantly knew exactly who you were dealing with. All right, section 3, the great gender shift, the age of reason. The 1700s are the absolute fulcrum of our story today. This is where fashion undergoes a massive society-wide split. The Age of Reason brought this brand new philosophy that life should be totally logical, clear, and practical. Because of this, men started ditching the fancy clothes and the heels, moving toward flat, simple shoes to look more serious and intellectual. But as the men stepped out of the heel, women stepped into them.
Women's fashion in the 1700s and 1800s became way more decorative. The heels got thinner and they got taller. That exact same shoe that started as a gritty survival tool for butchers and soldiers completely morphed into a symbol of delicate, protected femininity.
However, it is super important to note that this shift did not happen without pushback. Even way back in the 1700s, these intense debates sparked up. People literally started arguing over whether these new, delicate high heels were dangerous. Were they unhealthy? Did they physically limit a woman's freedom to just move and run around? We are looking at the source of a conversation that started centuries ago and, fascinatingly, has never really stopped.
Which brings us to Section 4, the rise of the stiletto, from survival to art.
Hitting the 20th century, the world was changing incredibly fast. We're talking 2 world wars, women working more, moving more, and fighting for greater freedoms. And amidst all this massive change, fashion takes a dramatic leap in the 1940s with the invention of the stiletto. Designed by Roger Vivier, working with Christian Dior, the stiletto was a total marvel of design. It was incredibly thin, literally like a needle, and super tall. It made the foot look long and the wearer's walk look distinctly graceful. It was an instant sensation that completely redefined the silhouette of modern fashion forever.
And you really can't talk about the explosion of the stiletto without talking about Hollywood. Actresses were wearing them everywhere, in films, in magazines, just walking down the street. I mean, just consider this famous quote from Marilyn Monroe. "I don't know who invented high heels, but all women owe him a lot." The whole world kind of laughed and agreed. Hollywood took this shoe and propelled it from a popular fashion choice into an absolute global icon. As the decades rolled on, designers like Jimmy Choo, Manolo Blahnik, and Christian Louboutin basically turned the heel into high art. And look at this connection. Louboutin famously brought back the red sole. It's just a beautiful, full-circle moment in our narrative. A symbol of exclusive power that was once created by King Louis for men was revived centuries later, but this time, it's modern women claiming that visual power for themselves.
Finally, Section 5, Modern Heels, a canvas for meaning.
Today, the high heel is literally everywhere, but it's also being questioned more openly than at any other point in history. So, what does the heel actually mean today? Well, the answer depends entirely on who you ask. For so many, heels are this profound source of confidence, beauty, and power. For others, they are rejected completely as a source of totally unnecessary discomfort and pain. We're also seeing this really fascinating return to heels as a form of gender expression, with men rocking them again in music and pop culture. And over in the professional world, there's this massive ongoing clash between strict workplace dress codes requiring heels and brand new laws being passed to stop those very requirements. It's a highly complex, really multi-layered debate. And physically speaking, the shoe has never been more diverse. Modern designers are crafting heels out of wood, metal, high-tech plastic, even glass. We have gone all the way from a simple raised block of material meant to keep a butcher out of the mud to breathtakingly complex pieces of wearable, structural art that basically defy gravity. Just look at how far we've traveled. We've gone from ancient Egypt to the battlefields of Persia, to the royal courts of France, through the Age of Reason, into old Hollywood, and right up to today's modern workplace. The high heel is ultimately a masterclass in how a really simple object can carry thousands of years of history. It proves that meaning is never static, it's always evolving. Because at the end of the day, fashion isn't just about what you wear. Fashion is a language, and the high heel is for sure one of its oldest and loudest words. Which leaves us with this final, really thrilling question to chew on. What will the high heel mean next? As society changes, as our ideas of power, gender, and comfort continue to evolve, how is this 3,000-year-old invention going to adapt for tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I really hope this explainer gave you a whole new perspective on the history right beneath our feet. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I will see you next time.